So say that I get it, right? Where I'm like, okay, I've taken my message, I've figured out how to cut it into, smaller, meaningful pieces I can use throughout the week in different places. What do I do with it? Where do I put it?
Yeah, so great question. I think what I would start with every church is think about, okay, who are you trying to reach? What demographic are you trying to reach? And then ask the follow-up question, well, what platforms do they use? Do they actually use Pinterest? Is Pinterest the strategy of our church? For many churches, it probably won't be. Maybe it is. I don't know. Identify the different platforms that you want. So let's say you meet with your team and you identify where are you currently present on social media. And so you have some people, of course, on Facebook. Some are, of course, on YouTube. Some, of course, are on Twitter, Instagram, fill in the blank. You identify these different platforms. And then you think, okay, what is the ideal upload schedule for many of these platforms? For something like YouTube, once, maybe twice a week is enough. Yeah. You don't need to be posting every day. In fact, if you post every day, chances are people are upset with you because you're clogging up their feed. Yeah. Something like Instagram, well, let's say maybe once, maybe twice a day, but not per week, right? There's a greater expectancy that you can post regular content. But on Instagram, there's stories. And so you can post stories every single day. Twitter is probably even more aggressive, 2-3 times a day. Same thing with Facebook. So you want to say, okay, on all these different platforms, how many times are we wanting to produce content in a given week, let's say? And then you mark that out and you say, okay, for this platform, we're doing once a week. For this one, we're doing 2 or 3 and fill in the blank. And from there, I would encourage you to think about buckets of content. What type of content can you create that's easy? Obviously, video works because we're videoing everything. So video is one type of content. Text is another type of content. But then there's a whole bunch of other fun things that you could think about. GIFs and memes and other kinds of things. It's just like silly, goofy, but shareable things. And as silly as it might think, like, should churches create memes? Like, well, do you want to communicate with people? Do you want to reach the zeitgeist? Do you want to reach people with where they're at? Because these are the things that get shared. Sure. Is it okay to have a healthy degree of humor when we treat subjects within our own community? Yeah. Would people be inclined to say, you know what? They seem like cool people because they're funny and they have meaningful content at the same time. Maybe some churches will say no, and that's okay. But maybe some churches will say yes. So what platforms, how frequent, and what buckets of content do you want to create? From there, distribute the workload. Pastor, you're going to be in charge of this part. Elder, you're going to be in charge of this part. Young adult leader, or fill in the blank. Yes. You're going to be in charge of these pieces. And so every time that a sermon goes live, everyone already knows, okay, after this sermon, I should have 4 or 5 things that I'm ready to suggest as content pieces.